Bishop TD Jakes pastors the Potter's House, a multicultural, non-denominational church that has grown to more than 30,000 members with 3 adjunct locations, and what Christianity Today calls one of America's fastest-growing megachurches. The Potter's House is renowned for hosting MegaFest, the world's largest inspirational festival with hundreds of thousands of attendees, and for their award-winning prison ministry, which has drawn national attention for their innovative approach to reducing recidivism rates among the formerly incarcerated. Bishop Jakes' Megacare ministry has focused on impacting lives of the disenfranchised around the world by constructing water wells, building hospitals and computer labs, providing medical care, and global child nutrition programs. Bishop Jakes, named America's Best Preacher by Time magazine, has become one of the most well-known pastors in the world, as well as an author, filmmaker, entrepreneur, humanitarian, and talk show host. Please welcome TD Jakes.
Hello, everybody. I can't tell you how excited and delighted to be here. I am a little bit confused, though. When I came out on the stage before the video played, everybody pulled out their cameras, and I thought you were taking pictures of me. So I was trying to figure out which was my best side, and I couldn't find one, and then I realized you weren't even looking at me at all. I'm excited to be here and just to spend a few minutes with you. I'm just overwhelmed at the magnitude of brain power and influence that has been on this stage. Have you just been amazed? Have you been blessed already? It's just... And I was thinking about how so many times when I would come to conferences like this, it would be like drinking water from a water fountain, and it would be gushing from everywhere. And how do I translate all of this information into my situation? Because I didn't come to a conference like this having attained on the level of the speakers that were speaking. And so I want to spend a few minutes to those people talking to people who don't have enough to get there, who don't have enough time or enough money or enough support or enough energy or maybe enough life left to get there. You're running out of time. And you think, wow, how am I going to get all of that I can see done? Because a vision can be tormenting. A vision should be a little bit annoying. It should be a little bit aggravating. It should be a little bit frustrating. If you have a vision that everybody believes in, it's too small for you. You want a vision that's so big that you have to pick who you tell it to. Because you don't want to have a vision that's believable. You want a vision that's achievable without being believable, or it won't challenge you on the level that you need to be as amazing and to bring out the best in you and to bring the best help to you. It's like ants who pick up a piece of bread that's too big for them, and after a while, other ants come to help you when you carry something bigger than yourself. So I have to tell you something. I am the son of a janitor and a school teacher. My mother was an educator and intellectual. My father was a janitor, and he was really about 20 different things. My father was whatever he could be to feed our family, which changed from moment to moment. Sometimes he was selling fish, and sometimes he was mopping floors, and he was doing everything. And my mother was a teacher, and she was an educator, but I want to talk to you a few minutes about things my father taught me. My father started a business in 1960 with a mop and a bucket. A black man in West Virginia with a mop and a bucket has the chance of going into business of weighing 110 pounds. So when my dad stood out there on the front porch with a mop and a bucket and a borrowed truck and said he was going to start a business, it sounded absolutely ridiculous until he did it. 5 years later, with 52 employees and 10 trucks and contracts all over the state of West Virginia, I learned to believe in crazy stuff. If you don't believe in anything crazy, it will not energize you enough to motivate you enough to find out what you could be if you have a vision that goes beyond your provision. Recently, I did a lot of research for a book I wrote called Soar, and I was just amazed by the Wright brothers' story and how it lines up with mine. And it's not that I built any airplanes or rockets or anything smart or anything powerful like that, but I am amazed at somebody who can stand on the ground and look up in the air and say, I belong up there. Can you imagine how stupid that sounded at the time? What are you going to do? I'm working on bicycles right now, but I'm getting ready to build an airplane. What's an airplane? It's a flying machine. It's something we don't even have a name for. It's going to be really, really heavy, but it's going to fly really, really high, and it's going to be really, really light, and we're going to have masses of people going in it, and it's going to change the whole world, and it's going to be amazing. Your bicycle will be ready in just a minute, but I'm talking to this guy on the phone right here. You see the oxymoron between where you are and where you think? You need to think something that scares you. You need to think something that you can't tell anybody about. When you tell them, you can't hardly find anybody to believe it. You need to think something like they did that you can't pay for. You need to think beyond your means. Dream something so amazing and so ridiculous that it gets you out of your comfort zone and it scares you to death. Because when we are petrified, we are also electrified. We're also motivated. We're also stimulated. We're also amazing. And the problem with most of us, unlike my father, we always have to see our way clear before we get started. But the greatest things that have ever happened in our lives and in our country happened with people who didn't have enough, but they thought deep enough to become beyond what they had. Like building airplanes in bicycle shops. Like building something bigger than your provision will allow, like having a vision that's bigger than your circumstance, like building something so amazing that it doesn't fit where you start. It does not matter where you start. It matters where you finish. When we started our production company, every time we put up a play, we started doing gospel plays before we did film, before we did television, we did gospel plays. And I have to tell you, the first 3 plays almost made us bankrupt. I was down to selling hot bologna and Pepsi-Cola. It really wasn't going very well at all. But I kept fighting. And I finally did a play that got attention and acclaim, and I hooked up with this other no-name person who was trying to get his stuff together, and he was trying to get his together, and I was trying to get mine together, and we were 2 broke, scared, desperate people who were overwhelmed and over budget, and we got together. And when you get together, you can do more together than you are apart. You might have heard of the guy named Tyler Perry. So I think he spoke to you a year before last year. Tyler and I got together and we started doing a play called Woman Thou Art Loose. And we went all the way to Los Angeles, and a guy named Reuben Cannon saw the play and decided to make a movie for television that ended up in the Santa Barbara Film Festival just because we thought we would go and see what happened, and we won the festival. And after we won the festival, a guy named Michael Linton, who works for Sony, offered us a first-look contract that changed the next 15 years of my life, because he said, I want you to tell stories, and we're gonna make movies, and we're gonna pay for it. Let me tell you something, when somebody tells you that, you tell a lot of stories. You tell a lot of stories. And my brother said he was not surprised. He said, because I've always been a big storyteller. He did not mean that in the best way. But things happen out of small places. What started in Dayton, Ohio, because sometimes you have the right vision, but you're not in the right place, ended up in Kitty Hawk. And the thing that amazed me, as many of you know, they moved the plane from Dayton to Kitty Hawk because the wind was right. Sometimes you can have a great idea in the wrong place. And if you build the idea and you don't consider the environment, you may be bound to fail because you don't understand that the wind is not right. So if you're failing or you're struggling or you're spending a lot of time trying to get something going and it's not flowing, it might not be that you have the wrong airplane, it might be that you have the wrong wind. If you do the right thing at the wrong time, you're not going to be successful. Imagine with me, for example, if Colonel Sanders started KFC today, and he started KFC today, he'd go bankrupt. Because we wouldn't do it now. We did it then because women had gone to work and we were trying to figure out how to have home-cooked meals and live up to the fast, rapid pace of a changing society. Today, that wouldn't work. If you came out with a fried chicken business and started it today, we want to know, is it gluten-free? How many fat grams are going to be in it? I want to know the dietary restrictions. It would never work. It is about the right win. And I believe that you are here today because the wind is right. And if you do the right thing in the right wind, you can spread your wings and absolutely, emphatically soar. So my few minutes with you is not to talk to the winners who are welding major corporations and have huge multi-billion-dollar budgets. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the guy or the woman or the girl or the entrepreneur or the young pastor or the old pastor who's starting a church and the odds are against you. You're starting a business and you can't figure out how to get that thing off the ground. I came to be the guy to tell you that it is going to soar, that it is absolutely going to fly. Even though you're over budget and overworked and tired and exhausted. And if you're like me, I had my kids working for me and they were like 5 and 6 because they were cheap. They didn't have no benefits, they didn't have no vacation time, they didn't have any life insurance, they didn't have anything. I just said, go out there and do what I told you to do. And they said, yes, sir. And went out there sucking their thumb because they were cheap labor. If you're right there, I want to talk to you. Because so much of what we learn is about winning. But what really stimulates growth is losing. You will learn more through losing than you ever learn through winning. Imagine a kid who tries to walk without tripping. Newborn baby, you can walk, but you can't trip. He'll never learn to walk. It is the things you learn through the things you failed in that set you up for the place you're getting ready to fly in. So never, never, never count your failure as wasted time, because there's always a residual of something that you learned out of it that's going to cause you to grow from it. The thing that inspired the Wright brothers wasn't engineers. They didn't have degrees. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the budget. The thing that inspired them were eagles. And eagles, my friends, make love in the air to keep from mixing with chickens. You'll get it when you get home. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The whole thing has a delayed reaction. By the time you get in the car and you think about it, never mind, don't worry about it. They make love in the air. They nest on cliffs. And after they hatch their eggs, they do like my wife Sarita and I did, they kick the kids out the house. Except when you kick the kids out the house and you're on a cliff, it's a rough transition. Eaglets don't learn how to fly by flying. They learn how to fly by falling. When they throw the eaglets out of the nest and out of their comfort zone and out of what is safe and out of what nurtured them in the first dimension of their success, they throw them out into the unknown and the unfamiliar and the scary place, and the eaglet isn't trying to fly, it's just trying not to die. It's just going like this. It doesn't know what in the world to do. And it keeps falling and flapping and falling and flapping and falling and flapping and falling and flapping and flapping and flapping, and suddenly they find out, when I do this thing, I go up. What did you learn from your last failure? And how has it prepared you to soar? What did you learn from the things that went wrong that got you ready for the next dimension? What did you learn by the deal you didn't get, by the person that left, by the partner that forsook you? Those are the lessons that enrich your lives. So if you are in here and you're thinking, I'm outgunned, good. If you're going to go back home and do something that you're kind of scared about and you don't have the resources and the people don't get you and you don't have the right team and you don't even know how to access them, good. If you've got more notes than you've got money when this meeting is over, I want to talk to you. Yeah, if you got notes everywhere and you got tweets everywhere and you wish you had people as much as you had tweets, I want to talk to you. If you got a mop and a bucket, but you got a huge idea, I want to talk to you. If you're making bicycles and thinking airplanes, I want to talk to you. To believe that something that other people would laugh at is possible is what makes greatness. To believe that the excuses can no longer be fences for limitations is what produces the mystery, the majesty, the infinite power of absolute possibilities. To believe that you can stand on the ground, but you belong in the air. And that if you keep flapping and falling and flapping and falling and barely making it and can't make ends meet, but if you just keep on, it might look dumb at first, but after a while, you get your rhythm. And they might laugh when you start, but they'll take pictures when you finish. Soar. It's your time. That's what I came to say to you. I'm a little bit like John the Baptist. The one that's coming after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to latch it. He is an amazing gentleman. We're going to have a video introduce him. He and I are going to engage in a conversation that I hope when we are finished, that no matter what level of success or struggle or failure you're dealing with, when we finish talking, it is my hope that from the balcony to the floor to all of the locations, you'll find your wings in the wind and soar. Take a look at this.